children of the North now face their toughest season. The great darkness will test them to the limit. The seal pups must learn to master the ocean, hunting down and catching fish. The young Arctic fox will need courage and resilience to survive the freezing Icelandic winter. And the mother otters will keep their cubs close as they pass their skills to the next generation. All these animals face vast challenges in a rapidly changing world. Heavy drifts will soon bury the summer pasture, so the herd needs to migrate back to the mountains, where they can dig lichen from beneath the thin snow. It's a journey that takes nearly a month, and the biggest test comes right at the start. A 1.5 mile swim across a choppy and freezing fjord. They'll halt here for now, until the conditions are calm enough for the crossing. In Norway, there's a break in the weather. The fjord has calmed and the reindeer are ready for the crossing. The herd is edgy, especially the calves who've never done this before. All wait for one bold animal to lead the way. A female steps forward. She's done this journey many times and knows what to do. As long as she just keeps swimming for the opposite shore, the rest should follow. But the current is fierce and the water freezing cold. For the calves, it's a real test, but they have to keep paddling. In most years, several succumb to exhaustion or are swept away. But this is an ancient migration route. There's no other way to the high tops than this perilous swim. The current pulls the herd off course, but they must keep going. At last, the first few stumble ashore. This year, the crossing has been made without loss. Only another 250 miles to go. The life of the Stormborn is never easy. On Scotland's coast, a sea fog has settled, enveloping the cliffs and dampening the seabirds' cries. In the guillemot colony, the mood is tense. The strain of constantly bringing back fish to the ledges is now too much for the adults. Their hungry young must go with them to the ocean if they are to feed. This chick can't yet fly, so it will have to jump. Tonight, protected by the evening light, its parents will encourage it off the ledge. Many won't make it. With the encroaching darkness, the jumpling begins its tentative descent to the edge of the cliff. While its mother stays at the nest site, its father follows it closely, defending the path down. But each ledge is someone else's territory. And danger awaits at every level. At last, it's at the very edge, just one step from the 600-foot drop. Its father can do little but call it on. For this is the leap that each chick must make alone. Father and chick are reunited. They will spend the rest of the summer together far out at sea. It will be several years before the chick returns to breed here on these precipitous cliffs. In Iceland, the seabirds that thronged the cliffs are leaving. For two Arctic fox families, it's the start of a new chapter. 3 months have passed since they each brought a litter of 6 cubs into the world. High on the slopes of the mountain, the Cliff family is thriving. 5 cubs here have made it. And armed with their mother's strength and their father's ingenuity, they're now equipped for independent life. There's still some contact with their mother, but increasingly they're making forays onto the mountain alone. On the beach below, it's a very different story. Forced to survive solely on scavenging, the shore foxes have failed to provide for their family. Just one of their 6 cubs has survived. A female. Unlike the cliff cubs, she's already alone. Once her siblings died, her mother abandoned the den. And though her father is still here, he might as well be a stranger to her now. Like all foxes on the shore, her way is now the way of the scavenger. With no siblings for companionship, and a father who is now her competitor, she needs to find her own way on the beach. If she can avoid the other foxes and find a few choice scraps, she might just make it. In Iceland, too, the weather is deteriorating. Rain doesn't trouble the Arctic foxes, but this is a mere shadow of what's to come. Once the sun dips below the horizon, only scent will guide the lone fox cub's search for food. But these storms can be the bringers of good fortune. The fiercer the storm, the more food will wash ashore. This little survivor's diet of insects and shellfish has kept her going, but it's not enough to sustain her through the winter. She spotted something on the shoreline. It's a dead gull. Something to be devoured fast. Feathers, bill, and all. And there's more too. This can be cached for later, in the den that's always been such an important part of her world. The lone survivor of her litter, she's proving a tenacious little character. Clever, adaptable, and resilient. She's got all the best qualities of a storm-born Arctic fox. The Monarch Isles are exposed to the full force of the Atlantic, and a gale is bearing down on the Pupping beach. The pups closest to the surf are immediately in trouble. They're not ready to cope with waves of this size. They need to get onto the beach for safety. But the surge of the waves has carved out a sandy shelf, making it difficult for them to return. The step may look small, but even the adults struggle to climb up. For the youngest pups, it might as well be a mountain. There's a real risk they could drown. The female pup tries desperately to reach safety. She must make it onto the beach, or she'll be swept back out to sea. Just one more push, and she's up. The sun is sinking over the puffin colony. This is to be no ordinary night. The very last of the pufflings are ready to go. Their parents have stopped feeding them and flown off. It's time to leave. It's a strange new world outside. They must find their way to the sea using the sound of the waves and the light of the moon. Darkness gives them protection from the ferocious gulls. But one is confused. He's heading the wrong way. But as the sun starts to rise, he catches the sound of the sea. He finally reaches the shoreline and takes the plunge. And he's off. He won't return here for 5 years, when he'll be mature enough to breed. Until then, the wild sea will be his home.